Hello and welcome to Carved in Stone. I'm your host, Shawn Chabam, and boy, do I have a different one for you today. This episode is one of those ones where I try to broaden my horizons a little bit. I'm often doing episodes on sports, rock music, old school wrestling, and horror movies. Today, I'm going out of my comfort zone as I bring you my Mount Rushmore of Disney princesses. So, since becoming a parent, I have watched a ton of movies that I missed growing up. My wife is always amazed by the films I haven't seen, and I have to remind her that I was a teenage boy for the majority of the 90s and not really interested in Disney films. I think only one of the princesses I selected is from a 90s movie anyway, but the point is, before becoming a girl dad, I probably couldn't have named more than four Disney princesses, and now I had to really think to narrow down my Mount Rushmore. Ironically, my first pick is actually because my oldest child, my son Jameson, loved her movie as a 1 year old into 2 years, and I think close to three. He could be having the meltdown of all meltdowns. You could put this movie on TV, and once he heard the music, he would stop dead in his tracks, cease crying, fidgeting, whatever he was doing, sit down, and watch this movie for at least a good hour. The movie was Brave, and the princess is Merida. In case you were wondering after seeing this first reveal, I'm just trying to make sure the video stays up. I don't want to put up images that might be too close to the real characters and get the video yanked. So this list is mine, but the mountain was ordered from Wish, and I won't be adding any other elements to this video just to stay safe. Anyway, in addition to loving the fact that I could use Merida as a tool to settle my kid down, I did quite enjoy this movie and this character. I'm not going to go into all the details, but my favorite thing about Merida is that she isn't like a lot of the other princesses. She's not prim and proper, she's her own person. She doesn't even want to be a princess. Her passion is archery. I think she's an empowering character. I've actually read reviews of Brave saying almost the exact opposite, that she's a horrible character because she disobeys her parents. And while it's true that she disobeys them, her parents want her to get married when she isn't ready, and she states this over and over. Her dad kind of gets it, but her mom is really pushing her. They never mention Merida's age, but I always thought she was about 15 or 16, and I believe she should be revered for standing up for herself and what she believes in. Now, there are reasons why her parents want her to get married that I'm not going to go into, but I have no issue whatsoever with a movie where a young girl says no to forced teen marriage and stands her ground, even if it was set centuries ago. She's also pretty funny. Not always intentionally. She does have a decent amount of physically comedic moments, though, like a female Cosmo Kramer. Despite being Scottish, I can actually understand her. The Scottish accent is usually one I can't understand to save my life. I understand all of the Scots in this one. It's a Pixar film, and I think those typically look cool. There's plenty more to the story of this film, but you can watch it for yourself, maybe with your little ones if they've never seen it. One last thing before I move on to the next pick. When my son was an only child, we took him to Disney World and he got to meet Merida. He didn't want to leave. My wife and I were having a time getting him settled after our turn was over, and Merida yelled to him, Jameson, you must get in your stroller. You have things to do. I always told him, Merida put you in your place. The next reveal, Princess Aurora. This is probably the only one on the Wish Mount Rushmore that looks even remotely close to the real character. The AI added the crown without me telling it to. I think I enjoy princesses who don't act like princesses. Aurora doesn't even know she's a princess, nor does she know her real name. She thinks her name is Briar Rose. She lives with fairies who she has no idea are magical. There's some darkness to this film with Maleficent, whose outfit I like, and who curses Aurora and the movie nearly never happens. But the fairies louse things up at the last minute, and a curse Maleficent has cast kicks in right before it's about to expire. I'm being intentionally vague here, by the way, again, being overly cautious, making sure this stays up. Everyone looks peaceful when they're sleeping, of course, and Aurora's curse knocks her into a state of almost permanent sleep, hence the movie being Sleeping Beauty. Eventually, Prince Philip comes to her rescue, and shocker, they wed, just as they were supposed to since birth when their parents arranged it. Oldie but goodie. I have the name Aurora tattooed on my arm since it is my daughter's name. Definitely no nepotism in this pick. Aurora, formerly known as Briar Rose. I alluded earlier to there being one movie, one princess from the 90s on this mountain, and that is Ariel. Of all our princesses atop this Wish Mount Rushmore, Ariel probably looks the least like her character, which is saying something because they all intentionally don't look much like their characters. Ariel is another strong willed princess, but for some reason, I don't usually hear her criticized for disobeying her father. Maybe people don't care if mermaids are disobedient. But getting back to the point, what makes her land a spot on this mountain? She's hilarious. She's trying to understand human culture and has a seagull who thinks he knows everything but knows next to nothing helping her. This leads her to attempting to comb her hair with a fork that she believes is called a dinglehopper. Scuttle, that's the seagull, has her thinking a pipe is a musical instrument called a snarfplat. I think just her naivety and silliness is charming to me. Movies are entertainment, and if I can laugh a little while watching one, that's a good thing, especially a movie like this that I would never watch on my own. Disney is actually pretty good at that. They tend to put in subtle jokes that fly over kids' heads but land differently with adults. So, redheads are batting 667 right now on the Disney Princess Mount Rushmore from Wish. Can they go 3 for 4? No, they can't. My final princess is Elsa. We have 2 redheads and 2 blondes, no brunettes. Elsa is, of course, the older princess from the hit film Frozen. I went back and forth on whether the last slot should go to Elsa here or her sister, the younger princess Anna, who would have made it 3 quarters for the redheads. Ultimately, I went with Elsa because even though we're on Anna's journey in this film more than Elsa's, and Anna is pretty silly, which I like, Elsa is still the main character in the sense that the plot revolves around her and her gift, curse, whatever you think it is. She also wisely tells her sister that she won't give her blessing for Anna to marry Hans, who Anna had met about 15 minutes prior. And spoiler alert, that turns out to be a very wise decision. Everything seems to always go back to someone getting married or almost married and somebody else getting pissed about it in Disney movies. Elsa definitely wasn't perfect. I'm not saying that she was. But also, one more reason for making it Elsa here instead of Anna, and this is a guilty pleasure. I think Let It Go is an awesome song. Shh, don't tell anyone. I don't think I know it verbatim anymore, but there was a time I could have recited that song word for word. Let me go, hang my head now. Before I go, honorable mentions. As I already stated, Anna was close. She was just barely bested by her sister's magical hand. Although no brunettes made the final cut, Moana was nearly up there, as was Belle from Beauty and the Beast. I liked Maui more than Moana, though. The Rock made those films for me, not the title character. As for Belle, I always crack up when the townspeople talk about how odd she is because she reads. I mean, what's wrong with that? So that's funny. But I thought she could use a little bit more personality. So she finds herself looking up at the others on the Wish Mount Rushmore. I thought there was some good music in Aladdin, but the movie as a whole wasn't really my cup of tea. So Jasmine didn't find her way on this Rushmore either. This episode of Carved in Stone is an independent fan creation and is not affiliated with, endorsed, or sponsored by the Walt Disney Company or any of its subsidiaries. All characters and story elements mentioned are the property of their respective owners. This discussion is for entertainment and commentary purposes only. Well, that does it for this episode of Carved in Stone. I enjoyed this episode more than I thought I would, and I hope you did too. Again, on my Mount Rushmore of Disney princesses from Wish, Merida, Aurora, Ariel, and Elsa. I will see you next time. Go birds.